feel that that's also there's a lot of other young men that are currently in the same position you are. Can you let me know? You live in Long Island, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and so you feel are you now? How did this happen? Did they take children on field trips? In kindergarten. How does a child get taken to Point Heron?
Well, you were just saying, about how the government is, and basically you get your parents to sign a permission slip to, let's just say for me, I'm going to start out with my timeline.
Okay.
I was born in 1987. I'm a surrogate. My adopted mother, she couldn't have children. So a close friend of her had me for her, and she had several miscarriages. And that right there leads me to believe that I'm here for a reason. You understand?
Right.
And I do believe that this stuff is still, and I know this stuff is still going on. I'm not going to name what schools I went to. I'm not going to name teachers' names, but I remember going on class trips to the lighthouse, and I forbade them. I could lead you down the trail to where the hatch doors were, to where the hidden bunkers were. To it was designed. It was set up perfectly. And they would single out 9 to 10 kids on a class trip, and they'd lead us down this trail. And I remember one of them telling me, the teachers telling me, "Do you want to go down there?" I said, "No, I don't want to go down there." "Well, you're going down there, and this stuff gets me emotional. The fact of the matter is, I don't see kids that I went to school with anymore. And that leads me to believe that they're either dead, or they're either in psych wards, or they're either in prison, or they're somewhere. Who knows? They might be on, Mars or another planet, on the back of the planet in a cage or something, or cloned or whatever it is. But I remember, for me, I remember these long, dark hallways, and I remember hearing kids scream. The reality of it is kids died in the name of science, strictly because of fear. Fear, like my friend says, fear. I mean, wouldn't you be freaked out if you saw some alien or something and you didn't know what it was, and you're a kid, and you're exposed to this stuff, and you think you're going on a class trip to look at the water at the lighthouse, but meanwhile you're underneath an air base, and they're doing all this hurtful stuff to you, near-death drownings, electric shock, playing with your mind, playing with your thoughts, and then erasing it, and then sending you back into public, and oh, everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be all right. You were a good boy. You were a good boy. And sometimes certain things just they trigger me. Like certain music triggers me. I remember one of the rooms that they put me in, which was the music room. And they would just blare this music really, really loud, drug you. They drug you to the point that you're going to do what I want you to do when I want you to do it, how I want you to do it, and that's it. You're a slave to me. Mainly they were looking for kids that had psychic abilities, really good with their hands, good soldiers, good assassins, Um, I remember the Carl Renner, the card sets, and it was like they would come into my school, and they basically what they were doing were they were scouting, they were scouting to see where these children's minds were. And now looking back on that, I see myself because they would tell me, I'm going to hold these cards up, and I want you to tell me exactly what card I'm holding up or what cards I'm holding up. And I want you to do it right away. I don't want you to think about it. But the reality of it is what they were doing was they were splitting the mind. They were fracturing the mind so they could program other stuff into your mindset, and you would do all different kinds of things for them. Such as, I remember being, forced to have sex at a young age. A lot of the Montauk was about blonde hair, blue eyes, and what they were doing was it was something with the genetics and the DNA, and today if you look at, a lot of males, it's that feminine side, you know what I mean? And then you look at a female and they have that male side too, so what that leads me to believe is they're tampering with DNA, and who knows? I don't know for sure, but there's a possibility that they did take my DNA the day I was born and went and cloned me. Who knows?
I'm going to interrupt just a little bit. I think, and I know because I'm filming you at the same time that you're talking, that you're kind of coming back and forth. I think when you get your voice, you get a little too close to the mic, and it makes a little bit of a squeak. So just pay attention to your modulation. Just giving you a side note there, so it's not too distracting for the listeners. I want to ask you a question. What grade were you taking on these field trips?
I was between 4 and 5
Okay.
when this started.
What grade were you in?
I was in preschool when this started.
So so this is a preschool field trip.
Correct.
Okay, which makes this kind of a more unusual than normal, right? Because I was from my understanding, most of these trips happen with they're at least 5 years old and you're at least in kindergarten, before you're taken someplace like that. It is kind of unusual for preschools to do field trips. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I mean, obviously, it's been a long time since I've been in preschool. But I do so. But what we're talking about makes this even more scandalous because if they're taking preschool age people over to Montauk, that's kind of McMartin preschool case kind of shit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I mean,
look at look what all this rape stuff that's going on with young kids. You know what I mean? And cover-ups. You know what I mean?
Right.
The reality of it is when Montauk started, it's a total different. There's a gap in technology. You understand? So they can do more things. The younger they grab them, the better it would be. You know what I mean? In their eyes. Because here I am at 27 years old, and I just woke up not too long ago. And it's funny because, a couple of years ago, well, actually about a year ago, I was walking down the road, and a black Impala pulled up on me. And he said, "Get in the car." I said, "I ain't getting in the car." And they chased me. Got away. So, I don't know if they were trying to grab me again, but they had on all black suits, white shirt, black tie, black glasses, and they were looking right at me, and they pointed at me and said, "Hey, you, get in the car." You know, that right there, you know, and now coming back, and I'm waking up now, and I'm realizing what was going on with me. I'm like, oh man, maybe they were trying to grab me again.
When was the first time that you began to like remember this stuff? How long have you been remembering this? I mean, have you lived a lot of your life just not thinking that anything happened to you? You know what? We do have to take a break. I'm going to come back to that question at the second.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be right back with more Freedom of Joyce. Stay tuned. Mute up. Make sure you mute your mic.